we'll go ahead and get our hula hoop. We'll come to the back of our mat and place our feet firmly on the ground. You can place the hula hoop just right on top of your thighs, having your arms open. Just as we were showing the very base of our fingers, try to feel that, but on our feet. And see if you can feel literally every single base of the toes on the ground. See what that does to the knees. If it kind of does something odd, just kind of wiggle jiggle it out and then try to press down on those points again. So this practice is going to be highly influenced by a practice I did by this woman, Elena Bauer, on Glow. It's a website I use to see some online classes, and I was feeling really unsturdy in my life with the story I was just telling you about my family and COVID and everything that's weird and what's the right decision to make. And if you don't know where you stand, it makes everything so much more stressful. But if you know where you stand, then you can make quicker decisions and go on with your life, and then it's, you are easily able to let things go. But just as when in life we know where we stand with our opinions and what we believe in, it really translates well to our yoga practice and knowing where we stand in our feet and knowing where our base is. And it's really about the ground up. So whatever is touching the ground, we really want to always pay attention to what's touching the ground and then bring the attention on up after that. So we're going to start in downward facing dog, having our hands and our feet on the ground. So go ahead and forward fold over the hula hoop. And then walk our hands out on the mat. Finding your downward dog. Spreading the hands as wide as they'll go without feeling like you're straining. We want to feel rejuvenated after this practice, not like we're straining. And then skip the knuckles, skip the fingerprints, and just go straight to the very base of the hands. Try to press down in the pointer finger and the middle finger, the ring finger and the pinky finger, and then the thumb. Bend your knees and come to the very base of those feet to where you could even lift up the toes and still feel like you're planting the feet down right on the base of the toes. And try to have the weight even in the hands and in the feet. And keeping the knees bent, let's really lift the sit bones to the sky. See how maybe that lifts the very low belly up a little bit higher. Try to make the arms a little bit longer. And even with the sit bones high, think about the tailbone kind of coming down towards your hips just slightly while the knees are still bent. You can let the head be really heavy for a moment, bringing the chin towards the chest. And then bring the head back up so that the ears are in between the arms. Pressing the thighs back while the knees are still bent. Trying to keep those sit bones high to the sky, and then slowly begin to straighten the legs, really with a lot of attention on the base of the toes. Feeling a hamstring stretch perhaps, different than maybe you usually do in downward dog. Take one more breath here. And then exhale. And inhale, we'll come out to plank pose, letting the hoop fall down to the ground. Let's come down to our knees and bring our attention back to the very base of our fingers. See how much work that the hands are doing for a moment. And then lift back up onto your toes, pressing the knees up and extending through the heels, back, back, back. Really being on the base of the toes, not the toes themselves. And seeing how much work that the legs can do in plank pose. And we'll take a full chaturanga, bringing our shoulders a little bit forward and bringing the elbows down, gracing the ribs. Then we'll inhale and find a cobra, maybe with the hands off the ground for a moment. And exhale, come down. And bring yourself back to downward facing dog. Taking one more breath here. Step the right foot forward in between the hands, helping it along the way if you need to. Bring this hoop outside of the front foot and then bring that back knee down. Bringing the knee back so that the back thigh is slanted rather than having the hip directly above the knee. And then place that back foot down so that the toenails are on the ground. And this time, let's really plant the toes, the very top of the toes down into the ground and allow the back leg to do a lot of work here. Let the back leg be what helps bring this front hip back. And from there, if you can pick up the hula hoop above your head and then cross the other arm over so that you're gonna, like as if you were gonna grab opposite elbows, but we'll have the palms on the inside of the hoop. Then from there, lift your back ribs towards the sky and exhale, bend a little bit deeper. Inhale now, let's reach the heart up and then back, finding more of a C shape, reaching the elbows back. And exhale, we'll flip this hoop up and over. And it could meet us there in just a moment. So we'll pick up that back leg and step back. Taking your chaturanga, bringing the knees down if you need to, but really finding the base of the hands or of the fingers. Inhale, find your back bend. And we'll meet back in downward facing dog. Checking in at the base of the toes, from the pinky toe to the middle to the big toe. And then we'll step the left foot forward in between the hands. So walk that back foot back as much as you're able, and then bring that back knee down. Flatten that back foot. And we'll pick up the hoop and could just be here right to the outside of that front leg for a moment. As we use that same thought coming from that back, those back toes, pressing down into the toes and feeling this energy of this back foot doing so much work that it's helping bring this front hip in and back. Feeling like your pubic bone is coming more into the middle than before. Feeling like the belly button is on top of the pubic bone. Feeling like the middle of your chest is on top of the belly button, and so forth. And then we'll lift this hoop up and find those opposite arms to opposite elbows, but inside the hoop. We'll inhale, find some lift, maybe even a slight tuck of that tailbone. And exhale, bend a little deeper. Then inhale the heart up and slightly back, maybe turning the gaze to the sky. And exhale here. And we'll inhale and flip the hoop up and over. Place it at the top of the mat. And lift up, step back, and go through your chaturanga, exhaling all the way down. Inhaling, bringing the elbows towards one another behind your back, lifting the heart up. And exhale to downward facing dog. Taking 3 breaths here. Checking in with every finger, with every toe. Feeling the sit bone going high to the sky. And then we'll step that
Right foot forward. Bringing that back knee down, finding that there's more of a slant of that back leg. Placing those toes flat on the ground again. Being really light in the left hand with the right hand on top of the hula hoop. Oh, is that Casey? Hi. Woo. If you need to do something, go ahead. Oh, it was good to see you for a second. And then so your left hand is on the ground, your right hand is on top of the hula hoop. And then again, think about those toes making the power of this move today. And then we'll slowly twist over that top shoulder, turning the gaze up. And if you wanted to go further, you can lift the hoop up and over. And then lifting the fingertips up towards the sky. And even though the bottom hand is really light in the ground, the shoulder blades are moving away from one another. From there, go ahead and flip the hoop back up and over. From here, we're gonna bring your right hand on the inside of that hoop. We're gonna lift that back knee up off the ground and then place the heel place the heel down so that it's about heel to heel or heel to inner arch alignment. From there, we're gonna lift this left hand up and then slip it in through the hoop so that your right hand is in the hoop and then the left hand's coming into the hoop. And try to have your right hand on the outside of the right foot if you can. But if that's too much of an issue, then go ahead and bring it closer to the inside. But try it as best you can and lift the left hand up towards the sky. And allow this hula hoop to help bring you back, bringing that low belly back. Bring a lot of attention to that back outer foot, and then all of the toe, the bases of the toes. And let the back outer foot, like the back foot, do a lot of the work for this move. And if you'd like to go a little bit further, go ahead and reach this hand over the crown of your head. Reaching the shoulder blades down the back. Then from here, we're gonna come up to warrior two. Exhale, we'll bend in. Inhale here. Exhale. Then inhale, turn this front hand up towards the sky and reverse warrior. On the inhale, straighten that front leg, still staying here with the reverse hand. On your next inhale, go ahead and lift on up. Hinge at this front hip and find triangle pose. Keeping those front ribs back, keeping the shoulder heads back, keeping the base of the head back. Perhaps turning the gaze up towards the sky. Feeling grounded in the front foot and the back foot. And then turn back. Hold onto the hoop with just your right hand. Go ahead and place it at the top of your mat. Turn to a high lunge. And then step this front foot back and lower through your chaturanga. Maybe you lift the thighs up for an upward facing dog. And we'll find ourselves in downward facing dog. Go ahead and bring the left foot forward, stepping it in between the hands. Bringing that back knee down onto the ground. So even though our legs are really wide from one another and it seems as though our hips are moving one way and the other way, we still want to bring them close, suctioning them together. Bringing this hoop to the left hand, your right hand is on the inside of that front foot. So with our hips level and square to the front of the mat, then our sit bones should be at the same spot. And I know usually we'll want a tight butt, like in life, but right now, think about the sit bones moving away from one another and creating some space And then from there, keeping that space and keeping the pelvic bone looking forward, we'll slowly start to curl over that top arm. Thinking again about where our feet are touching the ground and how much our feet can help this move to be super honest and very powerful. And if I think you did so on the other side, so lift that hoop up and over and keep reaching those fingers high while staying pretty light in that bottom hand and letting the feet, the very base of the toes, be doing the work. We'll slowly come on out. Bring that hoop to the outside of that front foot. We'll lift up off of that back knee. Then turn the foot so that we're going to be in a side angle, which then turns into warrior two. We'll slip this left hand inside the hoop and then bring it to the outside of your left leg. And then slip the top hand in the hoop as well. And go ahead and turn those top ribs up towards the sky. Turn that side body as if you're trying to lift the top hip up and meet the hoop. Yeah, Kim, that looks great. And then allow a lot of power to come from that back foot. And we'll raise that top hand over the crown of your head, allowing the hula hoop to help us keep that arm back as much as possible rather than forward. And keep breathing here. On your next inhale, go ahead and come on up to warrior two, staying in your coronal plane of front and back. And exhale, bending into that left knee, staying grounded in that whole back foot. On your next inhale, go ahead and turn that left palm up towards the ceiling and then reverse warrior. Still bending into that front leg. Then inhale, straighten the left leg. And we'll inhale to triangle pose, really hinging at that front hip, that left hip. Then turn the gaze down. Let the hoop just become in your left hand only. Turn to a high lunge, bringing that left hand down. Keep the hula hoop at the top of the mat and step back. And we'll lower through Chaturanga. Finding an inhale for your back bend. And an exhale to your downward dog. Remembering what it was like to have our knees bent and the sit bones high. You can even come onto the base of your toes and with the knees straight, or with the legs straight, I mean, you can lift the legs higher to the sky, really planting into those bases of the toes. And then stay grounded in the base of the fingers as well. And slowly bring the heels down towards the ground. Feeling the inner bottom part of the shoulder blades as if they're wrapping around the sides. Go ahead and look between the hands. That's where we're going to go. On your next inhale, go ahead and either walk, step, or hop to the top of your mat. Find yourself in a forward fold when you get there. Hold on to opposite elbows. Let grounding into the base of the toes as well as the heel lift the sit bones higher. Keep the front ribs to the back ribs and the head really heavy. And breathe deep. Release the breath. Feel free to sigh it out the mouth if you'd like. And inhale, come to a flat back of your choice, wherever you want to bring the fingers. Exhale, we'll fold. Inhale to flat back. Exhale to fold. We'll do that one more time before coming up. Inhale to flat back, feeling the back is longer than it was in the last two. Exhale, fold, and then pick up the hula hoop with both hands and inhale all the way to rise. And exhale, bring the hoop to right in front of your thighs. Taking 2 breaths there, feel free to close the eyes, roll the shoulders down the back, open up the collarbone, feel really long from the left to right side of the collarbone. Feel the tailbone coming down the backs of the legs, press down into the feet. Next inhale, go ahead and lift the hoop up towards the sky. Exhale, we'll fold over the hula hoop. Inhale to flat back. Exhale, step the right foot back. We'll find ourselves in a really high lunge. Keep walking that foot back to as far as you feel like you're able to. Then flip this hoop up and over. We'll find the opposite elbows again while we're in this high lunge. And then find the very base of the back foot. You know exactly what it feels like now with a bunch of attention on it. So rather than being on the toes, feel being on the base of the toes. Allow a lot of that work come from the back leg of bringing that back hip forward and that front hip back. Feel really grounded in that front foot as well. If you feel like you're gripping in the toes, try your best to bring a little bit more attention to the base of the big toe first, and then go through each one of the toes. On an inhale, perhaps maybe lean back a little bit and find more of a heart opener. On the exhale, perhaps bend a little bit deeper in that front leg. Inhale here. And then exhale, flip the hoop up and over and right to the front of that front foot. And then hop or lift that back foot up and off the ground, coming to a warrior 3. You can bend this front leg. The bending of the front leg will help find some balance. Placing your hands on top of the hula hoop. If you want to play around with it, you can let go of the hoop and bring the hands to the heart, lifting with the inner heel of that back foot. Staying grounded in all of those points of the front foot. Lifting with the inner thigh. On your next exhale, go ahead and bring that foot back down onto the ground to a high lunge. Leave this hoop at the top of the mat and step this front foot back to a downward facing dog. And then look between the hands, that's where we're going. We'll lift the right foot to the sky. Exhale, bring it in and step it forward. Then step the left foot forward and meet it there. Inhale to flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, picking up the hoop, bringing it with us. And then exhale, forward fold over the hoop. Inhale to flat back. Exhale, step the left foot back. High lunge here. Knowing how far that foot can go. Bringing attention to all of the toes. We'll lift this hoop up and over. Bringing our hands to opposite elbows. Trying to see if there's an awkward way of doing it, because perhaps you haven't done it that way yet. So shifting your arms so that the awkward way is happening this time. And then again, let's first start with the back leg, the back foot. Come to the very base of the toes rather than the toes themselves. And let that be what helps straightening that back leg, but also bringing that back hip forward, this front hip back. Feeling like your ribs are on top of your pelvic. We can feel a lift of the ribs, a lift of the elbows up towards the sky. And exhale, bend into that front leg. Inhale, find a little curvature in the spine. Exhale, bending deep. And then feeling grounded in all of the bases of the toes of that front foot. We'll flip this hoop over to the front of that foot. And then exhale, bend and bring this left foot towards the sky. Bending the right leg can help find more balance. Lifting with the inner thigh of the left leg. Trying to feel where is your center, where is your pubic bone, where is your belly button, where is your heart, where is your third eye. Perhaps bringing your hands to prayer or maybe airplane arms, or keeping them on the hoop is great. Lifting that heel up towards the sky a little more, and exhale, step it back. Place this hoop at the top of the mat, and we'll go back to downward facing dog. Taking 3 breaths here. Then inhale the left foot to the sky. Exhale, step it forward. And step that back foot forward. Inhale to flat back. Exhale to fold. Inhale, bring the hoop with you. And exhale, bring the hoop to the tops of the thighs. And taking 2 breaths here, checking in with the body. Feeling tall, feeling strong, feeling centered, feeling grounded. And then we're going to place the hoop right at the top of our mat. We'll meet it there in a moment. Let's inhale, windmill the arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, fold. Inhale to flat back. Exhale, step the left foot back and then the right to downward facing dog. Inhale to plank pose. Exhaling to lower your body down. Inhale, grounding in the pubic bone and lifting the heart up, shoulders back. Exhaling, lifting up to downward facing dog. Inhale the right foot to the sky. Exhale, bring the right knee towards the right wrist and the foot to the left hand. Finding a pigeon pose. Walking that back knee back as much as you're able without letting that front hip go too crazy forward. And then we're going to plant those back toes on the ground. And yes, we're going to use those back toes to find the power here. The power of that back foot brings the power of that back leg, helps this front hip come back slightly so that the hips can be as square as is possible to the front of the mat. From there, hopefully our hoops and arms reach. I think it is. Maybe not. Maybe it's not. And actually, if it's not, then, okay. I was going to say, if it's not, then just don't do it. But if you'd like, perhaps bring your left elbow down towards the ground or keep it on the, actually at first keep it on the hand. Keep it on the hand at first. Pick up that back toe, that back foot, and then hook that back foot with the hoop. Then from there, you got that foot, perhaps you bring that left elbow down to the ground. So then we can use that left elbow on the ground, not that we're bending into the shoulder, keep that shoulder really active of pressing the top body up, but then using that hoop to help find a quad stretch and twisting over towards the right shoulder. From there, let the foot kind of press into the hoop so that you get a little bit more of a back bend with the back knee or the back shin is pressing back You might feel it a little bit more in that front outer hip from doing that. Take 2 more breaths here. And then release the foot with the hoop, bring the hoop to the front of the mat. Bring both elbows perhaps on the ground. We'll stay here for about 4 breaths, 4 to 5. Again, allowing the power of that back foot grounding into the earth to help bring this front hip back. As you bring the pubic bone towards the ground, the tailbone coming towards the ground, the heart moving forward, the shoulder heads moving back. One more breath here. And then using the palms of your hands to help press you up, come onto the outer front hip, and then bring this back foot forward, and we're going to cross it over that right thigh. And scoot yourself as close as you're able, and then hug that knee in with the right elbow. Bring the left palm behind you. Press down into both, wherever you are, grounded onto your sit bone and your outer hip, and begin to twist over that left shoulder blade, or the shoulder. If you prefer to bring the elbow to the outside of that top thigh, you're welcome to do that as well, or hugging it, whatever works best for you. Taking 2 more breaths, filling up with breath, and on the exhale, feeling that breath leave the body and find more of a twist. And slowly coming out. Bringing our hands to the outside of that right hip and just finding a counter twist. Just bringing both hands over here just for a moment. Reaching the left knee, both knees away from you as the hands and the heart are moving towards the right. And we'll come on out and step back to a downward facing dog. Bringing the attention again to the very base of the hands. Perhaps feeling like the fingers are more spread than they were in the beginning of class without as much effort. Even thinking of the spread of the toes as well. Taking 1 more breath in downward dog. And then on the next inhale, come out to plank pose. And exhale, lower through your Chaturanga, feeling. Inhale to your back bend. Feeling the collarbone long from left to right. And then we'll come back to down dog. On the inhale, lifting the left foot to the sky. And exhale, the left knee to the left wrist and the foot over towards the right wrist. And then walking that back knee down, back. Having the hoop and arms reach. Okay, good. And then when you feel like you've gone far enough with that knee, placing the toenails on the ground of that back foot. And you guessed it, really using that back foot, pressing down, and the knuckles of the foot, or of the feet, of the toes. Using the knuckles of the toes of that back foot to help bring this front hip back and this back hip forward, opening up the pelvic area, opening up the low belly area. And then we'll pick up that hoop with the left hand, pick up that back foot and try to catch the foot with the hoop. And if you did so on the other side, bringing that forearm to the ground, and then twisting over the top shoulder, bringing that foot. We'll first bring the foot in towards the booty. And then bring the foot away from the body so that the shin starts moving back and you find maybe a little bit more of a back bend. Try not to dump in this bottom shoulder, but lifting, using the forearm to find a lift in that back of that shoulder. Slowly releasing that foot, bringing the hoop to the top of the mat, and bringing both forearms to the ground perhaps. Allowing yourself to find as much of a restful position as you can to allow yourself to sink into this. But even as you're sinking, it's still active. It's just not as much effort. The back foot is still doing work, but the body's a little bit more used to it and you don't have to work so hard. Let your body feel the vibration, but not the effort. Taking 2 more breaths, allowing that oxygen to move towards the area that is talking to you still. And you respond to it with breath. We'll bring the palms of our hands onto the ground to help lift us up. We'll lean over onto that left hip and bring this back foot around and over the left thigh. Kind of lifting ourselves up and walking our body into a tighter ball. And then either hugging that knee in with the left elbow or placing the elbow to the outside of right to the quad area of the top leg. On the inhale, we find ourselves grounding down and lifting up. And on the exhale, we twist over the back shoulder, turning our gaze with it. Inhale, feel the body expand with breath. And on the exhale, we release it so that we can find more of a twist. Taking 2 more. And then we'll come out whenever you're done with that second breath. Bring this bottom foot out slightly, and then we're gonna find double pigeon. So we're bringing our feet on top of our knees and our knee on top of our foot. So the top knee on top of the foot. This is where having possibly just a hula hoop or maybe a blanket. I didn't really set us up for it. If you need something, if that top knee doesn't meet the foot and it's not, it's not too annoying, then it's okay, don't worry about it. But if it's kind of feels like an issue and you want something in between that foot and the top knee, then grab something. But maybe perhaps the hoop can be the prop that it needs. So here our toes are likely trying to be relaxed, but instead we want to have our heels pressing out, as well as the base of our toes are pressing out as well. So I know we usually talk about the heel is always pressing out further, but now the base of our toes are wanting to meet how far that heel is. From there, bringing those front ribs towards the back ribs.
And then feeling those back ribs kind of lift up towards the shoulder blades and the shoulder blades moving down towards the back ribs. Keeping that low belly towards the spine. We can slowly maybe walk our hands slightly forward in front of the shins and see how that brings that top knee closer to the bottom foot. Again, we always have to constantly remind our feet to be active as you walk your hands out. Not a competition of how far you bring the hands out, just wherever it feels like it's natural today. To where there's some sensation. And where the sensation is, then you can allow the effort of being there, just slowly ease into it. And then if you haven't heard your breath in a while, touch in with your Ujjayi breath. Having the chin closer towards your chest can help us find a deeper Ujjayi breath in the exhale especially. And then one more here. And slowly coming on up. If you have any props near you, just let them go for a moment. We're going to find a reverse tabletop before doing the other side. So bringing both of our feet onto the ground, bringing our hands behind us. I know you said you don't always necessarily like them pointing forward, and so you can have them slightly towards the side, maybe all the way to the side, but try not to have them face behind you. So wherever you are, pressing down into the base of those fingers, down into the base of the toes, and then we'll inhale and lift the hips up towards the ceiling, bringing the shoulders down towards the mat and then down the back. Again, touching in with the collarbone, feeling really long from left to right as you lift the belly button towards the sky. The inner thighs are drawing downward, but the outer hips are drawing skyward. Taking one more inhale here. And exhale. I lied. One more inhale. And then exhale, bring yourself down. Then we'll bring the right foot on the floor first, and then bring the left foot on top of the right knee. And then we'll find the double pigeon there. So this will be our last thing that we do, and then we'll get into Shavasana. So kind of helping, you can use your hands to help walk your hips back slightly so that you can press the sit bones down into the ground, and then looking at both of your feet and trying to press the heels out, and then trying to have the base of the toes press where the heels are, meet the hips, or meet the heels where they're at. If you had something on actually, our hips are usually so different, especially we usually cross one leg over the other more likely. We usually crisscross applesauce with one foot in front more than often. So our hips are usually one of the things that are so different than one another. So I was going to say, if on the other side you had a prop underneath your leg, then probably on this side you would too, but that's all not totally always the case. So just setting yourself up to where you feel good. Having your hands next to your hips at first, lifting the low belly towards the back ribs, lifting the back ribs up, the shoulder blades to meet the back ribs, the heart lifts high. And then we'll exhale and start to fold over the legs, bringing our hands in front of the shins, keeping the feet active. Keeping the sit bones on the ground while that low back starts to move towards the low ribs. And keeping the sit bones on the ground while the back is moving towards the hands. being in pain here is not worth it, but being able to breathe into a hard area is nice. Knowing that you can get through hard things, that they don't have to be difficult, that with each time you do something, it will get easier and easier rather than pushing yourself hard into something and then getting an injury, or pushing yourself too hard in a certain activity, trying to get somewhere quicker, having more success quicker, when in reality, maybe getting there quicker isn't what will do you a service. But going slow and enjoying the process, enjoying and celebrating the little wins, celebrating more of this oxygen into the area that's talking to you so that you can have a conversation back and forth rather than it being a quick hello and I don't like being here. But that you can find a joy of being somewhere by slowly getting there. One more inhale here. And exhale. And then we'll lift up, bringing our feet onto the ground at tabletop, that reverse tabletop, one more time, and then we'll find the Shavasana. So on the inhale, you'll lift yourself up. Stay there for a couple breaths, as long as you feel like it feels good for you. Knowing that Shavasana is the next spot that you'll be going. Trying to feel openness in the armpit area. And then whenever you want to, you can lower yourself down and find your Shavasana, corpse pose. Yay, I left time for it. So Shavasana really is such an important pose. So we'll be done on time. Don't worry about time right now. Just allow yourself to enjoy all the effort that you exuberated just now. Feeling free to sigh out your mouth so that you can sink more into this relaxation. Allowing the feet and the palms, the bases of the toes, the bases of the fingers are now allowing themselves to rest. See how much power that these places in our body, these small places that make connection to the ground, how much power they created. Giving thanks for these places so that you can feel the energy you're feeling in your body. Hopefully there's a little more strength, more forgiveness and flexibility, feeling more stable. And then check in with all the points that are making a connection to the ground. Not overthinking where the places are, but just touching in with them, seeing how you could make them more comfortable, how that you can make your whole body more comfortable in the way that those places are touching the ground, in the way that they are touching the ground. just like it said to when you are studying for a test, and sometimes people will cram before a test and lose sleep over it and do an all-nighter without sleeping before the test after they studied. But that there's been research done where if you actually go to sleep, that will do your body, that will do your brain, that will help you be a better test taker if you actually sleep after you've studied. And it's kind of the same thing with Shavasana. That's why it's so important is we've done a practice, we've focused on things, we've moved the body in ways that you wouldn't do necessarily unless you're practicing yoga. And then Shavasana is your body's way of remembering what has gone on and finding a new way of laying. It's like the body just mentally taking all these notes so that it will remember. So hopefully that was long enough time for it to feel and take with you the efforts that you went through tonight. And then let's turn our palms down onto the ground so that the palms are on the ground. And then bring one knee in and then the other knee in, bringing the feet onto the ground. And then we'll turn over to one side and help ourselves up. Coming into a cross-legged position, bringing your hands down to your heart, closing your eyes for a moment to bow down to the practice of gratitude. Giving yourself gratitude for being here and hoping you take with you a little bit more stability and sturdiness, feeling grounded and steady in your body, mind, and spirit. Namaste.